Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Yanidha bhutani samagatani bummani va yani va antalikhe sabbeva bhuta sumana bhavantu atopi sakkacca sunantu bhasitam. Venerable Chief Naika Hamduru, Venerable Sirs, friends and children in the Dhamma, welcome for our Saturday regular Dhamma talk. Today this Dhamma talk is being sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Priyanta and Champa Kodikar and Miss Rasali Kodikara, with the hope of dedicating all these merits that we generate, that you generate by sharing this Dhamma and by listening to this Dhamma, to their beloved mother, mother-in-law, and grandma, who passed away 8 days back in Sri Lanka. Since her passing away, Kodikara family, together with their relations and friends, they performed an offering of Pansukul Achivara here and dedicate merits for their beloved mother to Mrs. Sumana Kodikar. And then on the 7th day, they offered a Sangika Dana and again dedicated merits for her well-being in her sansaric cycle to whatever life she has taken now. And today, the 8th day, sponsoring this Dhamma talk, their purpose is to dedicate the beautiful meritorious energy that you generate within you with the sharing of this Dhamma to their beloved mother. As Naika Hamduru specifically mentioned, this Kodikara family has always been devout and supportive and helpful for the well-being of this New Jersey Buddhist Vihara, since they are getting know about this temple. They have been always offering dana and attending to all those religious activities organized in the temple and dedicated themselves for the well-being and longevity of the temple. So throughout their life, keeping the temple as the nucleus, they have generated so much of merits. Today, we share the merits that we generate, that you generate, by listening to this Dhamma, together with all those merits, to Mrs. Kodikara, Mrs. Sumana Kodikara, wherever she is now, however she is now, with the expectation that her present existence, present life, be well, be happy. With these aspirations, let's begin. This is Dhamma Talk. Last week I explained the background behind the Ratana Sutta, and today we initiate the explanation of the hidden Dhamma in this well-known sutta, the jewel sutta, Ratana Sutta. The first verse, the first line, Yanidha bhutani samagatani. Yani, whatever. Idha, here. Yanidha is a compound word. Yani, idha, whatever here. Bhutani, beings, living beings. Samagatani, have assembled. So whatever living beings have assembled here. Bummani va yaniva antalike. Bummani, on the ground, on the earth. Va, o, antalike, in the space, in the heavens, in the sky. In other words, terrestrial or celestial. These two lines explain the targeted crowd of this Dhamma sermon, of this Dhamma teaching, or the targeted crowd that the Buddha addresses are explained in these two lines. Now, yani, whatever. When you say whatever the crowd is, that crowd is something invisible. Therefore, he doesn't know what is the group of people, the number of group of people. Their figures, their existence is invisible. So whatever living beings, in the sense, the living beings who are invisible, then we know they are the spirits living on the ground. Who are these invisible beings living on the grounds? They are the Bhumma Deva, earth-bound deities who lives, who have made their homes on the trees, on the mountains, closer to human existence. Bhumma Deva, earthbound deities. They do not belong to the celestial realms. They are not included in the 6 divine realms. The 6 divine realms beginning with Chatum Maharajika. The realm or the heaven which is ruled by 4 divine kings, Chatum Maharajika. That is the beginning of the celestial realms. So Bhumma Deva, the deities who are earthbound, who lives based on the earth, are not included as divine beings in the heavens. So Bhummani, Bhumma indicates those invisible divine beings who live on the grounds. Antalike. Antalike is the space, is the space in between this earth and the space where no one can live. We can say beyond the ozone layer. So in between the earth and the ozone layer, whatever beings alive, they are all targeted, all mentioned with the word Bummani va Antalikke. Beings who are terrestrial and the beings who are celestial. But when they say Yani, means whatever it indicates, this sutta is directly addressing the living beings who are invisible. Invisible living beings can be friendly and hostile. Hostile living beings, hostile invisible beings, were the beings who were harassing the people in Visala. We explained in our last talk, last week. Those evil spirits were harassing people. But when the Buddha arrives, together with the Buddha, the king of the gods, the Sakra, and number of other divine beings came following the Buddha. And when those powerful divine beings came, all those hostile spirits escaped, ran away. Now at this moment, while the Buddha is existing in this city, the majority of the divine beings are none other than those friendly deities, devas, who arrived with the Sakra. Now this sutra, Buddha teaches them those divine beings who arrived together with the Sakra. So Buddha target the divine beings who are friendly, who are supportive, and who are assisting the human beings. Yani the bhutani samagatani. So the bhuta here indicates the divine beings. Yeah. It has nothing to do with the human, animal, birds, the other living beings. It is directly for the divine beings. Now, of course, this is not a strange word, bhuta. In our talks on the Metta Sutta, we found these two diametrically opposite words. Bhutava sambhavesi va. Bhuta sambhavesi. In that stanza and in that sutta, Bhuta indicates the entire living beings who have taken a birth. And Sambhavesi indicates the beings who are waiting or who are yet to take a birth, who haven't taken a birth yet. So in the Metta Sutta, Bhuta means all the living beings in the entire world systems in the world. But here, Bhuta means divine beings, beginning from the terrestrial who are on the earth, in the trees, on the mountains, and then the divine beings who are in the celestial realms, beginning with Chatum Maharajika, Tavatinsa, Yama, Tusita, Nimmanarati, Paranimita Vasavati. And of course, we can also add those Brahma realms, the divine beings in the Brahma realms. Now this Yani, the Bhutani, Samagatani itself indicates this sutta, Buddha teaches, or Buddha target this sutta, the deities in the divine realms, earthbound and celestial. Divine beings are the targeted crowd. Yani the Bhutani Samagatani, Bhumma Nivayani Vantalike. Whatever beings have arrived here, who exist as earthbound or as celestial. Sabbeva bhuta sumana bhavantu. Sabbeva bhuta. All those bhuta, all those beings. Sumana bhavantu. Sumana. Mana, mind. Sumana. Happy-minded. May all these beings be happy-minded. Now this is metta. Radiating metta to those assembled divine beings. Directing your friendliness, directing your unconditional love towards them. May all of you, though you are invisible, though you are not apparent to us, may you be well and happy. Sabbheva bhuta sumana bhavantu. Radiating metta. Now this line is exactly same as in the Metta Sutta, Karaniya Metta Sutta. We explained Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. Sabbe satta, may all beings, bhavantu, be, sukhitatta, sukhita atta, happy-minded. Sukhita, happy, atta, mind, consciousness. May all beings be happy-minded. Exactly the same metta is radiated in this Ratana Sutta with the line in this first stanza. The Buddha says, may all divine beings be happy-minded. Sumana bhavantu. Happy-minded. Now, radiating metta, developing metta is something which has a natural repercussion of the love of the divine beings and the protection of the divine beings. If somebody radiates metta as much as possible, that person becomes somebody who is friendly to the divine beings. And what happened? In return, divine beings become friendly towards them. That's what mentioned in the Metta Nisansa Sutta. In the Metta Nisansa Sutta, there are 11 benefits of radiating metta. One of them is Devanam Piyo Hoti. He becomes friendly to the divine beings. Another benefit is Devata Rakkanti. Devas protect him. So, natural repercussions of metta, developing metta, is that you become friendly to the divine beings and the divine beings protect you. Now here in this sutta, when somebody chant this sutta, he chant one line which indicates your love towards the divine beings, towards the invisible beings, wherever you chant this. Whatever invisible gathered here, may you be well and happy. May you be happy-minded. Sabbheva bhuta sumana bhavantu. May all those invisible beings, sumana, happy-minded, bhavantu. Be happy-minded. The third line, we develop metta. The fourth line, Buddha says, Atopi sakkacca sunantu bhasitam. Atopi, after this, you are happy now, happy-minded. Then sakkacca sunantu bhasitam. Bhasitam, to what it is explained, to what it is uttered. After this in the sutta, whatever it is said, bhasitam sakkacca sunantu. Listen attentively. Listen attentively. Whatever it is said in this sutta, listen attentively. Now, this sutra is all about the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and the beautiful virtues, qualities that consists within the Triparjam. So now inviting the first stanza, inviting those divine beings to come and listen. Now we know when the Buddha initiated his missionary work with 60 monks, and throughout the 45 years of his ministry, Buddha did not teach Dhamma just for human beings, but also for the divine beings. His followers, his listeners were not just human beings, but also the divine beings. When he dispatched the first 60 monks, the group of 60 monks, he advised them, you must travel and teach Dhamma for the well-being of human beings as well as divine beings. Attaya hitaya sukhaya deva manussana. Divine and the humans are his audience. That audience was not just limited for human beings, but the divine beings, wherever the Buddha goes, wherever the Blessed One travels, that divine group was following the Buddha. When Buddha arrived from Rajagaha to Vishala, Buddha did not ask those divine beings to follow him, they followed him. He was the biggest spiritual celebrity at that time. Divine beings were magnetically attracted to him. And Buddha taught them Dhamma. Whenever he found the opportunity, possibility, request, taught Dhamma. So this sutta, just like the other two suttas in our regular chanting, the Mangala Sutta, the target crowd, or it was specifically taught to a divine being. Metta Sutta, again taught to gain the attraction, gain the love from the divine beings. And this sutta actually taught the divine beings about the virtues of the Tripajam. So, in the first stanza, Buddha invites to come and listen to the virtues of the Tripajam. So, whatever beings, living beings who have gathered here, Yani the Bhutani Samagatani, Bummaniva, either in the celestial, Yaniva Antalike, or in the terrestrial, either in the terrestrial or in the celestial. Bummaniva Yaniva Antalike. Sabbheva Bhuta, may those beings, may these beings, either in the vicinity, in the space where they can listen to these words, Sumana Bhavantu, may they be happy-minded. Being happy, Sakkaccha Sunantu Bhasitam. Listen well, listen carefully to what it is going to be said. I think the first stanza is clear to you. Then moves to the second one. Completely related or in connection with the first stanza. Tasmahi bhuta nisameta sabbe metam karot manusya pajaya divacharatocha harantiye balin tasmahine rakhata appamanta. Now in the third line of the first stanza, radiation of metta towards them. Sabbheva bhuta sumana bhavantu. As I told you, radiation of metta has natural benefits of the love and protection from the deities, from the devas. But in this stanza, the reciter requests the devas to love and protect the mankind, the humankind, who is in that particular space on the ground. Tasma, therefore, he definitely. Bhuta, these beings, these invisible beings, Nisameta, constantly, continuously, with a firm establishment, continuously. Sabbe mettam karota. Be friendly. Be loving. Mettam karota. Radiate your love. First, humanity is radiating you, their love. So you, in return, radiate love for them. Mettam karota manusya pajaya. To the population of humanity, where the whole world, no, in that particular area where this sutta is being uttered, whatever invisible beings, invisible divine beings, who are friendly, who are supportive, existing in this area, now this is the request for them. Since they show you a love, since they radiate metta to you, it is your turn. Mettam karota. Radiate your love towards these population, these individuals, human individuals who are existing in this area where this sutta is being uttered. Tasmahi bhuta nisa met sabbe mettam karota manusya pajaya. And these human beings bring you gifts day and night. They offer, they do offerings day and night. I think by the time that the Buddha exists, they must have established already all sorts of methods of offerings, venerations for the divine beings. The Hindu tradition is there. It was established tradition by the time Buddha arrives in the world. In the Hindu tradition, the offerings for the divine beings are something normal, something they do regularly. Now, Buddha doesn't reject them actually. In this sutta, those offerings for the deities are not rejected. So it says, Diva cha rattocha, Diva day, ratto night. Diva cha rattocha, haranti ye baling. Ye for you, haranti, bring in baling offerings. Baling offerings are brought day and night for you. Tasma hine rakkata pamatta. Tasma, therefore, ne, these people, rakkata pamatta, vigilantly protect them. Vigilantly protect them. These human beings, they do metta towards you, they radiate metta, and they bring gifts for you day and night. So, it is up to you now. Vigilantly protect them. Be friendly towards them. Radiate your metta towards them. So, these two verses encompass many areas. It encompasses the areas related to Buddhism, like radiating metta, asking to listen to the Dhamma, requesting to listen the virtues of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And also, it talks about the offerings that the people are doing for the invisible divine beings. Then we move to the third stanza. Yang kinchivittam idhava hurang va sagge suvayam ratanam panitam nano samang atti tathagatena idampe buddhe ratanam panitam etena satchena swanti hotu. Yang kinchi vittam, if there is a treasure, idhava hurangva, here or beyond. Now what is idha here? Now in the first two lines, it is already mentioned about Bhummaniva, terrestrial, and Antalikki, celestial. So the divine realms and the human realm is already explained. So Idha here means these seven realms, 6 divine realms, and the earth, where the home of humanity. So Ida represents these 7 realms. Hurang means beyond. Idava hurangva. Beyond what? Maybe in the realms of serpents, Nagaloka. Yeah. It says that it is underneath. Or the realms of titans, Asuraloka. Whatever treasure exists here or beyond, here in these 7 realms of blissful sensual pleasures, Kama Sugati, or beyond. That's the idea. Beyond can be anywhere. It means in this entire universe. Whatever treasure there is, Yankin Chivittang Idava Hurangva. In this entire universe, whatever treasure there is, Sagge Suvayang Ratanam Panitam. Ratanam Panitam, supreme jewel. Supreme jewel here or beyond. Nano samangati tathagatena. Nano. There is no. Samangati tathagatena. Similar to tathagata. Samang means similar. Tathagata. Tathagata is a term, an epithet for the Lord Buddha, the Blessed One. In the suttas, we can find that Buddha very rarely uses the terms like I, my, me. He doesn't use these words to indicate himself. And he doesn't say himself as Buddho. Whenever he wants to indicate himself, he uses this third person epithet, Tathagata. Tathagata is quite similar to the epithet that we find in the stanza Itipiso Bhagava Araham Samma Sambuddho Vijja Charana Sampanno Sugato. Sugata. Sugata is quite similar to the epithet Tathagata. This Tathagata carries quite a significant number of qualities in it. So it is worthwhile to explain this Tathagata a little bit. Yeah, because there is Dhamma. Now, in the commentaries, they have found 8 reasons for this Tathagata is to be used as an epithet for the Buddha. Why Buddha used this Tathagata? To indicate himself. Yeah. So there is a Dhamma. There is a great meaning behind this Tathagata. It is worthwhile to learn about and to know about it. So Buddha said that he is somebody Tatha Agato ti Tathagato. Tatha agato. Tatha means thus here. Agato, come. Therefore, tathagato, thus coming. What does it mean by thus? Just like the former Buddhas, previous Buddhas, Sikhi, Vesabu, Kakusanda, Konagama, Kassapa. These 5 Buddhas are the Buddhas mentioned in the Tipitaka. The rest of the 28 Buddhas we know, they are mentioned in the Buddhavansa, which belong to the Khuddaka Nikaya. But in the early Buddhist teachings, the 5 Buddhas are mentioned. Kakusanda Konagama, Sikhi Vesabu, Kakusanda Konagama, Kassapa. He says, I arrived just the way as those former Buddhas. How did he arrive? By practicing the 10 perfections in the triple manner of Parami, Upaparami, Paramatta Parami for 400,000 incalculable eons. Chatura Sankhya Kalpalaksha. 400,000 incalculable eons in this cycle of birth and death, Buddha fulfilled the 10 perfections to the length of ultimate perfection, Paramatta Parami. And meanwhile, he developed the other spiritual cultivations like Chattaro Satipatthana, Chattaro Sammapadhana, Chattaro Iddipada, Pancha Indriyani, Pancha Balani, Satta Bojjanga, Aryo Attangiko Maggo. Just like the former Buddhas, just like his predecessors, like Sikhi, Vesabu, Kakusanda, Konagama, Kassapa, he fulfilled those 10 perfections and these requirements of the enlightenment, and he arrived at the enlightenment just like them. Therefore, he is Tathagato. Tatha agato, thus arrived. The second one, Tatha gatoti tathagato, thus gone. Tatha, thus, gato, gone. Tatha gatoti tathagato. Because he's gone just like the former Buddhas. Yeah. Now, this going forth has 2 aspects: physical going forth and spiritual going forth. There are so much things to explain in this going forth, but we will concentrate only one important thing. In the spiritual going forth, it says that the application of his wisdom, panya, or the insight, or we can say vipassana. Application of vipassana is such: when he destroyed, uprooted a certain defilement, he doesn't have to look back and check whether there is any opportunity for that defilement to shoot back again, to arrive again, to come to life again. Once he destroyed, uprooted a certain defilements, it's forever, never coming back. He doesn't need to look back and check. It is perfect. It is not a suppression which is done in the concentration samadhi. It is an elimination, uprooting, which is done in vipassana. That is the spiritual gaiety, spiritual walk. Whatever destroyed, defilements, they don't come back to life. Tathagato, thus gone. And the physical walk is just the same. In that physical walk, he doesn't look back. I explained this in the last week talk, that Buddha never looked back over the shoulder. There are very few occasions in that 45 years of his ministry that he looked back. In those occasions, he turned his body completely and looked back. Not over the shoulder. We call that special look Gajavalokana. So he never looked back over the shoulder to check something he missed when he was walking. Not only he never looked back, but also he never looked around also. His concentration for just few feet ahead. Beyond that is not his concern. Just for few feet ahead. All what he concerns. Thus gone, such a beautiful walk. So just like the former Buddhas, he destroyed the defilements to the level of perfection so that he doesn't have to look back and check whether they will come back to life and drag him back to the samsaric cycle again. No need to look back. No need to have any kind of thoughts or fear about it. And physically, he walks just the same, never looking back. Tathagato. Tatha agato, thus arrived to Nibbana. Tatha gato, thus went. Therefore, he is Tathagato. The third one is Tathalakhanam agato ti Tathagato. Tathalakhanam. In Pali, Tathalakhana is the characteristic of truth. Agato, arrived. Tathagato. He arrived at the characteristics of truth. What we experience, what we have, always deceiving us with the ideas of permanency, solidity, everlasting entity. But for the Buddha, all what he experienced, including his own physical body and everything else, never deceive him. Cannot deceive him, because all what he sees is anicca, impermanence, suffering, dukkha, and non-self, anatta. Everything, including his own physical body as well as everything in the world. This is called Dhamma Chakku, the eye of the Dhamma, the way seeing things in the glasses of Dhamma. These Dhamma glasses never allow to deceive those impermanent, suffering, and the non-self things in otherwise. This eye of the Dhamma, the glasses of the Dhamma, shows them as they are in the true characteristics. Tattha Lakkhanam, true characteristics. He arrived, agato, he arrived at the true characteristics, hence he is Tathagato. Yeah. The fourth one is Tattha Dhamme Yatavato Abhisambuddhoti Tathagato. He understood the Tattha Dhamma. What is this Tattha Dhamma? Four Noble Truths. And the Paticca Samuppada, dependent origination. Tattha Dhamma, permanently, eternally truthful Dhamma. They were truth. They were truthful in the past. Nobody can say otherwise. Nobody can deny. When Buddha says this is suffering, this is the cause of suffering. This is the way to get rid of this cause of suffering. This is the getting rid of the cause of suffering. And this is the way cause and effect works. When the delusion causes accumulation of formations to arise, when the formations create name and form again, nama rupa. Likewise, the 12-fold formula of Paticca, dependent origination, they are eternally truthful. Tattha Dhamma, eternally truthful Dhamma. So the fourth reason for the Blessed One to be called Tathagata is that he arrived to the true Dhamma as they are and realized upon it, Abhisambuddho. Therefore, he is Tathagata. The fifth reason is Tatha Dassitaya Tathagato. Whatever he experienced from the eye, ear, nose, tongue and body, these external objects, Buddha sees them as they are, not as they are not. So the sounds, forms, appearances, tastes, tangibles, smells, the external objects cannot deceive the Buddha. So the external objects are seen as they are. Tattha Dassitaya Tathagato. Tattha Vaditaya Tathagato. Tattha the truth. Vaditaya speaks. He speaks the truth. Tattha Vaditaya Tathagato. For 45 years, from the moment of his enlightenment until to the moment of his passing away, attainment to the Mahaparinibbana, whatever he taught consists the truth, nothing but the truth, absolute truth, that nobody could prove otherwise. Therefore, Tattha, the truth, Vaditaya Tathagato, he uttered the truth. Tattha Karitaya Tathagato, whatever he says, he acts. Whatever he acts, he say. Yathavadi Tathakari, Tathavadi Yathakari. Therefore, he is Tathagata. Abhibhavana Tehena Tathagato. His teaching, his appearance, his presence, and the parami he fulfilled defeat those people who come with false arguments, those people who came to defeat him with his arguments, including divine beings, Brahmins, Shastriyas, the kings, the householders. All those beings were defeated subdued and bring them to the right path by the Buddha. Therefore, he is Tathagata. So these are the 8 reasons explained in the commentaries for the Blessed One, for the Lord Buddha to use Tathagata as an epithet to indicate himself. So Buddha says, there is no any treasure in the 7 blissful sensual pleasures, Kama Sugati, or beyond, in comparison with the Tathagata. Tathagata is the ultimate treasure for the humanity, for the divinity, for everybody, here or beyond. Yang kinchivittang idava hurangva. If there is a treasure here or beyond, ida hurang. Yang kinchivittang idava hurangva. Nano samangati tathagatena. No treasure is similar to the Tathagata. Saghe suayam ratanam panita. That this is the treasure supreme. Ratanam panitam. Idampi buddhe ratanam panitam. This is the treasure supreme, the Buddha treasure. Buddha is the treasure supreme. Etena Satchena Swati Hotu. Etena, by the virtue of this Satchena truth, by the virtue of this truth, Swati Hotu, may there be happiness. May there be the well-being. Etena Satchena Swati Hotu. This is the 3rd stanza of the Ratana Sutta. Now you can see that so much of Dhamma is included, hidden in these triple lines of the stanza, in these lines of the 3 stanzas. So therefore, we can imagine what kind of Dhamma is to be explained, are to be found in the rest of the stanzas in our forthcoming Dhamma talks. So please feel free to join us and enjoy and listen and learn this beautiful Dhamma in the Ratana Sutta. Today this Dhamma talk, as I explained earlier, was being sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Kodikara, together with their daughter, Miss Rasali Kodikara, with the singular aspiration to dedicate the happiness, the bliss, the joy that arise in your hearts by listening to this Dhamma and by sharing this Dhamma with all the other listeners, for their mother-in-law, grandmother, Mrs. Sumana Kodikara, who passed away 8 days back in Sri Lanka. Though they couldn't attend personally to that funeral due to this unforeseen circumstances, but their duties are done. Offered the Pansukula robes to the Sangha and dedicate merits. Offered Sangika Dana to the Sangha and dedicate merits. And today, on the 8th day, they give the opportunity by sponsoring this Dhamma talk to listen to the Dhamma and then getting ready to share these merits. Let's share all these merits together with Mrs. Sumana Kodikar. Wherever she is now, however she is now, may she be rejoiced with these merits. May her present existence become blissful, happy, and peaceful. If she, ever in suffering, ever in darkness, waiting to be rejoiced with these merits, may she be enabled to move on move on to a better existence, better life. Move from the darkness to light, sadness to happiness. Ultimately, may Mrs. Sumana Kotikar be blessed with Nibbana. Let's share merits. Idamme ñātinam hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idamme ñātinam hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idamme ñātinam hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. For the divine beings, Akasatta Chabummatta Deva Naga Mahiddika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakkantu Loka Sasanam. Akasatta Chabummatta Deva Naga Mahiddika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakkantu Desanam. Akasatta Chabummatta Deva Naga Mahiddika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakkantu Mam Paranti. Blessings for you. Dukkha roga bhayavera soka sabbe upaddava anekantaraya pivinassantu cha tejasa. Jaya siddhi dhanam labham sotti bhagyan sukham balam siriya yuchavanno cha bhogam uddhi cha yasava satavassa cha ayu cha jiva siddhi bhavantu te. Airarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminate samijjatu. Sadhu, sadhu. Just a reminding, please join with us on every Saturday, 6 to 7. This series of Dhamma talks we are continuing under the advices of Nayaka Hamduro. Our intention is to share Dhamma and to give the opportunity for our devotees to be with the Dhamma in these difficult times of pandemic. So please join with us on every Saturday, 6 to 7. Thank you very much and good night.